All right, hello and welcome to my live stream. Apologize for the slight delay getting started this morning. I was saw a green candle futures and was partying last night, but not really. But anyway, I was really kind of interested in how the market was going to react to all that selling yesterday. And in my live stream yesterday, I talked about how I thought that there was definitely some potential for weakness, and that obviously wasn't like news to anybody. But what I'd be looking for was some pullbacks to some key levels, and that I had some trading plans that I was going to pursue based on that. So what I wanted to look at first, and then I'll get into my some of my notes and the flow, is the stock that I think I led off with yesterday in the live stream, Nikola, and we can kind of look at what they're doing in the pre-market. Been kind of toying around with this 5% gain, and I had mentioned that this pullback into like the 520 area was definitely possible, and that was kind of what I was looking for. And I said potentially it could go under 5, but that 520, kind of the bottom of the body of this candle from the May lows, was what I was looking for. That was the bounce I wanted, and ultimately it did give us that. So I bought some yesterday late in the day, just kind of a starter position, and we'll see if I add to that or not. I think there's definitely potential in this one to reverse pretty hard, kind of a similar move to what we saw in late May on a reversal. But you can see it. It took a little time, and even any kind of move to 6 today would be great. But this definitely is going to have some range on a recovery. And the question was if we would just get further selling to break below the May lows, or if it would reverse here. And when you're trying to give yourself any kind of edge for that, option flow is often a place that of course you can look. And we had some more buyers yesterday on it. So let me take us there. All right, so this is a consumer cyclical stock. And so this 617 6C, where you have this bullish premium really outpacing the bearish premium on it. You have sold puts that are bullish on it as well. And this is just I'm on the options dashboard. And on the bearish side, in the most bearish chains, we do have some 550 puts showing up. Overall, I'm a little more bullish on it, though, just given the calls I'm seeing. And we can go into the intraday analyst as well and see what we got here on Nikola. And okay, so the two of the most, and by the way, and you'll notice these are the ones from the dashboard. So that's what their whole software picks up on, and you get kind of some confirmation and more detail in this page that's focused solely on Nikola. And you can see here that the 6C, where you have the volume exceeding the open interest, and the volumes exceeding the open interest on all of these. And so the shorter term stuff, the stuff for this week, is very bullish. And then 550 for next week is bearish, and you could very well see Nikola have a little bit of a bounce today and then come back, and so both of these strategies for it could actually end up panning out. It's up a little today, and we'll see where it goes from here. I do think that we'll probably get a test of 6 this week, and you can see this is a pretty cheap was a pretty cheap contract yesterday. It'll be up a bit today, and we'll see. You can play shares. You can lower your risk by going further out with your options, but it's one that's been on my radar, stock I've been obsessing about for a couple of days. So I definitely like the potential of Nikola here this week. Another sector that was of interest to me, as it usually is energy. Just given the sell-off that we saw yesterday, it was a bigger pullback in oil than we have been getting. So that was in a sense promising, and you can see futures are significantly up this morning, and we have a couple of notable bullish setups in oil, and I'll go back to the dashboard in just a second, but let me get to my oil stocks here. So one that's going to stand out today is CLR, because they're of news they intend to go private and buy all of the outstanding shares. So they are way up on that news. And when I posted about this, they're actually were up I think 6 or 7%, and they've gone well up since then. So I gave some people a chance to get in if they wanted to under 70, but yeah, so we got up to 72, and that's gonna likely just have a crazy day. The other stocks that I usually do trade, Oxy, as you can see, it's well through my call trigger that I had for today. So I'm probably in trading that going to look for some kind of pullback to that level before I get into it, and we'll see. Oil, might just go. Rig is one that around the $4 level has been getting a lot of flow, and we see up to 71. MROs, another one that I often trade, and then you get some of these the penny stocks up a little, and then this one's been running. So these, it's really kind of these two, they sort of alternate. Sometimes they'll run at the same time, but on the share side, HUSA and IMPP, definitely stocks you want to keep on your radar. Okay, so let's see what we've got here, and you can see here IMPP had a lot of bullish flow. So this is within energy overall, and so this could definitely run this week, and you kind of still are at a point where you have a pretty good entry if you do trade this. So I would maybe keep that in mind. Oxy, this contract really stood out to me. 70C for this week, and that was sort of what led me to put it in on my list. And Oxy, you can see there is some definite bullish activity here, and or bearish activity, excuse me. We're going to see kind of what the open interest, what sticks here. A lot of them may have exited their positions yesterday on that sell-off, and then we're going to see what picks up with some of these contracts. This one is definitely worth considering for me. 70C for mid-July. So if you if your thesis on oil is that it's going to go up, you've been right for months now. But as far as the uptrend continuing, what you've been seeing with oil is that it answers the challenge for its pullbacks and then goes higher. And now this pullback, I got a lot of lines on Oxy, but this pullback was definitely more significant than some of what we've seen. It's a little bit similar to what we saw in April. So you probably on a drastic sell-off like that in a sector that has so much momentum behind it, just on oil prices alone, you'll see a bounce today, candle looking something like this probably, and then the question is, how long do we consolidate, and is it then going to go higher and test its recent highs? And it's often been doing that. You see an even steeper uptrend in some of the smaller ones, like Dino, which this is really, and again, this you'll see oil stocks, they all dipped around this time in late April, but this is really the first decent challenge to Dino in weeks, and so we'll see how it responds back up to 54, and we'll kind of see what the flow wants to do on it. And let me see here. So Dino, I've had a lot of luck with monthly contracts on it, and so I keep going back to it. Okay, so you can see here your volume isn't like Oxy or Exxon. Like you're not going to see contracts in the tens of thousands being purchased on it, but you do have these indications of some bullish activity, and to me, what's less revealing, like this in hindsight, okay, it pulled back 5%, everybody piled into bearish positions. But what are they going to do with those today? And even the bearish positions were, largely in the money, and there isn't really an effort to say like, we're going to push Dino back to 45, which you would see in a tech stock. A day like yesterday, like Dino is not coin, and if if whales see weakness in something like Coin or Upstart or Affirm or SoFi or name a fintech, when they see that weakness, you'll see them go way out of the money on their puts, and in an attempt to push it further. Oil, they don't really tend to get that aggressive. They will cash in on the downside moves and pullbacks, but the most aggressive activity is on the bullish side, for these stocks to recover and retest their recent highs. That's been the pattern. It's not going to last forever. Oil will eventually have its typical bust cycle and go back down. How far, who knows? But eventually Dino will get back under 40, I'm sure. But when you look at where oil came from, I mean, MRO, yes, it's gonna pull back, but is it gonna pull back to the 20s? Is it gonna pull back to 16? It's certainly probably not gonna pull back to $3, which is where it was in 2020. So just don't really see that in its future. But in any case, oil is something to watch. The reaction to this daily candle and the next candle ending up in the middle somewhere. That's the thesis I have. When I look at the strikes and the flow, that's what I see. And then it's just about execution in your trades, waiting for a good entry a pullback to a level that you charted out and are familiar with, and that's how you trade. That's how I trade. So oil is interesting to me today for sure. All right, now there were a couple healthcare stocks. I don't like to trade these that much, but there are a couple that trade a little bit like tech and have, I think, some potential. And they were Docs and TDoc. So the TDoc, I mean, this leap at 100 is kind of crazy. But let me look at the intraday analyst. Yeah, so it's $50. I don't think I want that one, but we can see that again, day of massive selling, that the bearish activity, of course, kind of dominated. But that was some aggressive selling yesterday. So you kind of are left wondering, are we going to get a bounce today? And even if the bounce is kind of the dead cat variety, that's fine. I mean, that's good enough. That's good enough to trade. So I do have some triggers on TDoc, and I'm looking to avoid fake outs. So I'm looking at this level yesterday. It's attempted recovery here at 29.52. I want to see it. I want to see it break through that and hold it. And at that point, I will enter TDoc on calls. And you can see here it broke through and failed. And this is an example of why you go to a 5 minute. Yeah. Okay. So notice here, this is important. So I'm a teacher. I'm going to pause and talk about this for a second. Okay. So difference between a 5 minute chart and a 1 minute chart. I watch 1 minute charts just because I like sort of the action of it, but I don't really trade off of them that much. I look for confirmation, and you can see here on a 5 minute chart at this trigger that I set up. Now I set the trigger up today, but the trigger is based on average true range from yesterday at close on the day chart. So it was this number. Oops. Yeah, it was okay. So this number 351 divided by 4, you add it to the closing price, and that's how I get the triggers, and then I subtract it for the calls. And okay, and so then I didn't even look at yesterday's chart when I mapped this out, and you can see where this level ultimately hit was right at this spot where it kept making these attempts, and that on a 5 minute chart, this was a failed attempt to break through that trigger. So if you were trading this and you just you get this candle toying around with it, you wait for it to close. It closed below. You look at the next candle. The next candle failed. It's a no-go. You don't enter because it did not claim that trigger. On a 1 minute chart, you get faked out on it, and as you're watching them, it's like okay, so we're gonna go for it, and no, we pulled back, and yes, we got it, we broke through, but how psychologically, look at how different this looks, because even the one after it was like, okay, we got it, we're good, enter calls, and then you're toast. So that's why the longer time frames are really important with these call triggers. So I'll be interested in TDoc today, and particularly to the upside if we get any kind of any kind of momentum in a recovery today. I don't know how sustained this bounce will be. I've been through enough FOMC weeks to know that oftentimes you see the market pump a bit into that uncertainty, and then it will react with a lot of volatility afterwards. Sometimes the market likes the news; it's expected. Rate hike of 0.5. A lot of people think the rate hike will be 0.75, and but you run yourself in circles trying to anticipate what's going to happen with that. I think it's better to just have a plan and react to it, and that's certainly what I'll be doing. Okay, so that'll conclude my live stream today. Nikola, oil, TDOC. That's what I covered, and I do have some triggers up on Twitter for some other stocks, M and X as well, and Rivian. So we'll see what today brings. Just be patient, trade safely, and have a great day. Thank you.